Hello everyone, this is sharing on China. Alright, lately the China stock market or the Hong Kong stock market, who has companies listed in China, has been doing very well. It's been booming, but I have opposite concerns. Alright, primarily because they did not prepare for the reopening properly. Right, firstly, the Chinese are not mRNA vaccinated, which has been shown to be the most effective vaccines around, and the vaccination rates are not as high as countries that have reopened like Singapore. Alright, moreover, there's a lack of medicine to treat even common fever like Panadol in China. Right, Chinese New Year is coming, it's a big holiday in China, and actually there's a lot of movement in China during this period. Right, there's this worry that COVID may spread more. Right, ICU beds are not high in China. There are about 4 ICU beds or less than that per 100,000 people in China. Right, the US has 30 per 100,000. Right, and they also struggle at the peak of their COVID. Right, things like subway and movie ticket sales have plunged. Right, which shows that people are actually self-isolating even though the country has opened. Alright, so people are actually scared of going out. Alright, so all these things show two things. One is the COVID fight in China is not over. Number two is the economy, I don't think, will recover so smoothly as people hope or we hope. Right, but however, all these things I think are the short-term problems that will go away like other countries. Right, eventually China will manage this issue. Right, the longer term problems are things like the property market and bad debt worries. Right, so in the short term, the government has shown support, but I'm not sure what the long term solution actually is. I think for China, the property prices, especially in the more central areas, are actually just too high, and people have no longer the confidence to purchase these properties, partly due to the fact that economy's growth is slowing down and there's quite a high unemployment rate among young people, and obviously the economy is not great due to the COVID still being around to affect the economy. Right, so I am not sure what the long-term solution to the property market in China actually is. Right, so the other big question mark is Xi. Right, he has consolidated power, and now there's no longer other factions in positions of power to balance things in China. So it's basically him and the people that support him. Right, now that he has no opposition, it's hard to predict what he will do. Right, so Taiwan is the other big question. Will they actually invade? If that is the case, then China quite clearly becomes uninvestable. Right, Peter Zehan, right, I hope I pronounced his name right, actually says that even in the best case, China has probably 10 years of growth left. Alright, that's because of population inversion. There's too many old people there due to the one-child policy. Also, there's more men than women. Right, the ratio is 1.2:1. Right, and he suspects that this ratio is actually not the true ratio, which may be worse than this. Right, obviously you can't have all of them get married, right? Because there's always a 6:5 ratio, right? So there will be a drop in birth rate that carries on and is already manifesting itself, right? So the issue here he's trying to say is that it will end up being like Japan, where there's overweight number of elderly people and there won't be a young population to have a consumption-led economy like the US. Right, and the education system in China, he says, is not great because it emphasizes memorization over skill. Therefore, the tech is no good. Right, you can see the high-tech stuff, they still try to copy US. Maybe outside of TikTok, they probably mirror US for a lot of the better technology. Right, if you look at mRNA vaccine, it's a very good example. The US has produced a very effective vaccine, whereas China's vaccine is less effective. Right. Secondly, if you look at things like semiconductor technologies, they lose to people like TSMC. Right, and he also says that Xi doesn't get a lot of information because people are afraid to talk to him. Right, they can get punished for saying the wrong thing. Right, and therefore Xi is actually unpredictable. Right, that goes back to the Taiwan issue we were talking about earlier. No one really knows if Xi wants to invade Taiwan and when. Right, if that is so, it makes everything in China uninvestable, right? Because it may get cut off like Russia. But the biggest problem with China is that if it gets cut off like Russia, they'll have it worse because they're the largest importer of food and energy, right? At least in Russia, you have to consider that their economy gets affected, but they at least have raw materials to support themselves, right? So that's the concerns with China. What do I plan to do? As you can see, these are my overseas holdings. My highest positions are actually in China. So yes, I do have some worries, and I'm thinking as the market goes up, when the price is good, I might unload some of these China positions and maybe go into the US, right? So things like Tesla, Alphabet, Amazon are things that interest me at this point, and Microsoft, right? Please remember, this is not investment advice, okay? I'm just talking for myself in my context, all right? With that, wish you all the best, all right? And thank you.